Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. Hi. Well, the big news is that I chopped off my hair. I know this is love hair. Thank you. Thank you. I was just thinking about like all this stuff, spiritual, metaphysical stuff that has been happening lately. It's been a little bit like a house on fire here. And then, out of the corner of your mind, there's like a little physical voice that goes, and we cut our hair. Like as if that, it's like, okay, yeah, I'm still physical. It's still there, isn't it? Melinda asks, is it freeing? Actually, yes. Yes. And for reasons I didn't necessarily expect. So I actually have wanted this haircut for a really long time. And the last week or two, as we've been talking about preference, and yeah, preference episode came out, and then it kind of continues into the next episode. I started to realize all these things that I have actually wanted for a really long time, but have sort of just like dismissed. And I can't even tell you why those things were logical. And I realized I wanted to cut my hair short for a long time, but was just like, will I be feminine? Like, will it look good? All those like whatever. I don't know. And then I sort of like, I'm just gonna do it. And I have to say, as I think Inez knows, once I stepped into that and I cut my hair, I cannot even tell you the level of synchronicities and things that have happened. And it's kind of funny because you could just be like, it's because I cut my hair. And on one level it is. But I think also it's just like when you finally are just like, that's it. I know there may be reasons why not to do it, but I just have wanted that. And since then, I have started to realize even more things that I have always preferred. And then you forget. Isn't that amazing? You forget the things you prefer. Melinda says that's fantastic. Thank you. My husband and I were talking just the other day, and he's been traveling, so he's listening to a lot of podcasts. And have you ever had the experience where you know something, you forget it, you then listen to a podcast of like some expert who has like built their life on this thing, and they give the same good advice that at one point you already knew, but like just stop doing, So Melinda says, yep. It's interesting how we have a preference, we know things that help or, but then we sort of fall off of it, kind of forget it. The experience of memory. I mean, like the big thing we're talking about this season is we've kind of forgotten who we are. So the fact that we might not clearly remember, like, oh, yeah, I really always used to like to wear those things, or where'd that go? Sort of an aspect of that forgetting, I think. So I think it's 6 after, so I can bring them through like we normally do, but I feel like doing things differently today. How do you guys feel about that? And as I say that, I don't actually know what we would do differently. But I feel like what I have been craving is more opportunity. Melinda says, let's switch it up. Let's do it. Um, I have been craving, and then I want to hear what you guys have been craving from the course. As you've been listening to them, we're now into the second half of the season of the podcast, and we're moving sort of into the next phase. Really want to hear what you guys are craving or feeling. I have been craving more dynamic interaction between you and them and me. The way that we start the podcasts and the way that we have started these live Q&As is not actually often how I interact with them. Every now and then, I'm sort of like, just lay it on me. And I sort of just turn off all my thinking and they give me like a big speech. But it's not often the case because usually within like a few minutes of the big speech, my brain goes, well, why not that? And so then they reply, and it actually becomes a very quick back and forth. And something that I've realized recently, too, that I think I now can come to the fact that this is important in a way that I couldn't accept before. When I first started channeling the chorus, I was really freaked out that they were ghosts or something like that, and they were gonna start moving stuff around in the room and really freak me out one day. Like, one day they would just sort of, like, appear and I would see them, and I was so afraid of this. I was so afraid of them startling me, basically, by doing something that I didn't anticipate. And they told me very early on, and it's still in my notes from, like, the first year of channeling, that they're like, "We can't actually affect anything in your reality because we're not resonant there. This is a bridge. You are reaching out to a frequency, and we're reaching to that frequency. We're not actually in your reality." And they said this is part of what the job is that you do, meaning me. And I couldn't accept that. I didn't like it was like the tall poppy syndrome. I didn't like being made to feel that special, and I didn't trust it, and it made me deeply uncomfortable and even nauseous. And so I liked that they couldn't move a lamp around the room without me noting, but also I didn't like the other part of it. I didn't like feeling like I was the connection. It felt like a very frail connection. I don't know, it just didn't feel reliable if it was just me. Well, they've continued to say you and you all are recognizing your own uniqueness. And as I've started to channel for more and more people, what I'm recognizing is that if I don't hear what the person says, there's like a there's like a mismatch. It's like the chorus is sort of like they feel all of us energetically, but it's not grounded. Does that make sense? There's a difference between they see all of our energy, right? But that integration piece of the knowledge really like comes down and hits home is not as grounded. It doesn't come all the way in. I feel a difference basically. And so what I kind of want is for this to speed up. I don't know how else to put it. I want to have you all have an opportunity to kind of have like a dialogue with them and for it to be like an equal roundtable as opposed to like the beings from on high drop this like soliloquy, and then we're sort of like, which is powerful in its own way, but there's many different ways to do it. So if anyone's game, I would love to bring someone up on stage to have like kind of a roundtable discussion with the chorus about anything you're going through or anything you're wondering about. And Melinda says, my biggest challenge with that is that I often don't know what questions to ask. Oh, thank you for that reminder. Okay. So in the beginning, I had a similar sensation with them because their energy is so big that it's it's so expansive and it's such a reach beyond our mental thinking that we're sort of at like like it's a momentary pause in our thinking, which is what we're accustomed to. It's kind of a first step into vaster wavelengths. So as you go further with this, what you start to feel is the questions bubble up from that energetic place as opposed to questions that come from a contemplating mental place. There's a difference. This one is very childlike. It's like, and I wonder why that is. It just comes up and it may feel to the mind like a non sequitur, but it comes up energetically. And so they are very relaxing to the mind. And so at first, as you start to listen to the chorus, it's just sort of like you zen out, or even fall asleep. I would fall asleep after channeling sometimes because the relaxation, the pause of the mind was just so intense. I was so relaxed. As you keep moving through that, you're able to sort of stay kind of present with it and you feel other questions come up. Um, so maybe we can try it. It does take a leap of faith. It does take a leap of what I'm feeling next is this thing. And as that speeds up, they speed up. And it kind of it becomes like this little ladder game where you move up through stuff in sort of a lighter way. But Belinda, thank you for saying that because I forget sometimes how, true to the topic of this conversation, I forget sometimes how much in the beginning it just like sort of their energy blasted me out of the water. That is a true sensation coming from a mind based perspective into like an energetic perspective. So, and I can help because if I can feel things too, I can help with the questions or anything like that. Maybe we try it if anybody would volunteer. And if not, if nobody's like, yeah, I'm open to trying this, then what I can try and do is give an example. Maybe I cut out a piece of paper here and then I'll say, this is Katie talking or this is the chorus talking of like, and they and I can have a dialogue and you can see how that goes. Melinda says I'm open to try. Cool. Let's try it. See where it leads. And you. Jane says, I absolutely would, but I am the car, so maybe next time. Okay. Jane, that sounds great. Love to. Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
Nervous because I'm like, blank. That's what I get. It's just so sorry for all of you if this ends up being like me just staring at the screen.
No, that's so great. And often that is our sensation of like stepping into a true unknown, right? Like we have no mental plan of what's about to happen. So it is like an attempt at an energetic place, which is new for us, right? But I think once you get into it, it gets pretty fun. So I will pop in and out. Okay. I really should have made a sign. Oh, maybe I can. I will pop in and out, and I'll, if it's not obvious that it's me, I'm gonna make like a little Katie. So this is so weird. This is channeling. Okay, so they'll be here, and then if I'm popping in with like a question, like, "Is this what you mean?" Then I'll do one of these, and then if it's not this, then it's them. But I think you'll feel the energetic difference, and I think this is why it'll be fun.
Okay.
Okay. Let me turn up your volume too, so I can make sure I hear you. Okay. So I'll bring them through. Dear one, we are delighted by this experiment. And from our perspective, it cannot go amiss because we are all here energetically and we are all communicating energetically. And all things that come up are perfectly co-created by each of our willingnesses to be here. Simple as that.
Okay.
Okay, so it's me again. So is there anything loosely as a topic that you feel?
I was just gonna kind of ask, like, I'm curious about why I'm so nervous about it. Like, why do I feel the need to, I don't know, perform right, and which I feel like has been answered before. And this is where my head gets in the way, because then these questions pop up and I'm like, that's been discussed.
Okay, I'm bringing them back through.
Okay.
We would say that this observation is very accurate, for you are understanding when the mind steps in as a new understanding has come through. You start with a very good curiosity, an open question, where you cannot even suspect mentally what the answer might be. And then very quickly, your mind will reply with, well, it might be this, and it might be that, and that might have already been answered, and how quickly it diminishes the openness of that question, the full potential of that question. So you are recognizing consciously how this is happening within you as you are awakening to it and you see it. And therefore, the next question for a human would be, but how do I overcome that? Yes.
I feel like the next question for me wasn't even so much how do I overcome that, but why then do I feel like to step into that feeling of openness and remaining open makes me feel it makes me feel like a child, which I know is exactly what Katie was describing. And also, I feel stupid. So then both comes up for me.
Okay, it's me. So I would say that you're spot on in feeling the both and speaking as channeling them for a very long time. Can you allow both to be true? Can you allow for it? Like, I could be stupid right now, which I say to myself all day, every day when I talk to them. Or also, this could be a beautiful childlike moment of openness. They could make it. Can you hold them? You know, both.
Yeah. I
Okay.
can certainly be aware that it's possible to hold them both. I think that's the extent that I can reach right now.
Okay, bring them through. This is a very important aspect of your process in understanding not just the beliefs and how they limited, but your existence as an energetic being and how you choose to resonate with different energies. When you come to a place of understanding that within you, the whole, there is this perspective of perhaps I sound like an idiot. And there is this perspective of perhaps this is the beginning of something great. You are starting to come up into consciously your vastness of a being that can choose and resonate with multiple frequencies at once. For a little while, you will all continue to oscillate between one or the other because you are coming from an experience of limitation in which you were narrowed down to a one reality, a one group consensus, and potentially even, historically, a one way of viewing yourself for the entirety of your lifetime. Today, humans, by our vantage point, are well on the path of awakening, for you are allowed to adopt different identities through the course of your life. You're allowed to change careers. You're allowed to try other things on. This is a good reflection of this ability that you are coming into consciousness of, that you can resonate with more than one frequency at once. It is concurrency.
So, from that perspective, then the other thing that I feel happens for me is when I receive something like what you just said that feels relieving. So I feel like, okay, that's feels like relief. I want so much to just hold on to that I don't want to go to the next question because I just kind of want to sit in that relief for a while.
Yes, this is a beautiful desire. And you know how we feel about desires? They are the direction in which you are heading. So, what are you realizing at this juncture that is ultimately assisting you in heading in the direction of remaining in that relaxed state? We would suggest that it is an expanding trust of that next question, that there may be something it is bringing you that will expand you into more and more of a steady state of the frequencies that you are desiring and moving towards. In this way, you may be awakening to the aspects of yourself that do not trust, that your presence in that relaxed state could be so tenuous that you do not want any interruptions, nothing to take you out of that place. And if you expand into that, you will begin to understand more and more from that larger perspective that everything that comes as an interruption is ultimately assisting you in that expansion. There is no interruption that your connection to this energy is not stronger than. There is nothing here to be preventative of.
And now I just want to stay there.
Katie. Okay. So I would hit that point and then I'd be like, I have no more questions. Right. And then normally I'd be like, what do you guys want to talk about? You know, in the beginning. Right. And then they would be like, great. We want to talk about this. Okay. So what I found was that if I stay in that place, what happens is the taste, the flavor of the questions change. When we start from the mental place, it's as the chorus likes to say, it's coming from the vantage point of a deficiency. I have a question because there's a thing I do not understand and I am lacking that. And I want to ask this in order to close that gap. They said that's an example of the mind-based perspective. So then I was like, well, energetically, how do you ask a question then? Like, that's the point of a question.
Right.
And they said, well, energetically, it's more of that inspired place. So have you ever just been doing something and you're doing something, you're thinking about something interesting, and then you're like, huh, I wonder where that is. I'm not deficient as I say it. I'm like connecting things and understanding things. And it'd be like, that's funny. Has that always been there? And then that answer comes through from a different place. So usually it starts to feel funnier. It starts to feel lighter. It starts to feel like you could really ask any question and it would just kind of all be great. It's that sense of childlike discovery of like, what about this one? What about that one? And they're sort of like, yes, it never ends. We could talk about this all day long because we're infinite. You know, it's that lightness. And I have found that I can ask the questions both ways, and they actually both contribute to the understanding. So it's not like the mind-based questions are bad and we need to all go be asking energetic questions. It's that by asking them from those two different places solidifies in me the understanding even more. Like I get that sense of conviction and steadiness that you were saying. I wish I could just like stay. I wish I could just choose this and not feel like I'm going to get bumped off of it. I get that by asking the questions from both directions. More perspectives.
Yeah. I get that.
You're doing awesome. Okay, so I'm going to bring them through again. So in this vein, we would like to perhaps play a little bit.
Okay.
Curiosity is a very good human sense of these sorts of things. Have you been curious about anything in your day? Has something fascinating occurred for you lately, perhaps with animals?
I was actually going to say, I think my greatest curiosity comes from exactly what Katie was just talking about when it comes to energy work in general. And so I get super curious about the hows. And so I don't know if that's more of a brain thing than the energy thing, but like I can't read enough about, even though I can't understand most of the quantum science pieces, like I can't get enough reading about it because it just fascinates me. And I do feel like I'm in that state of curiosity because it helps to explain how I'm doing what I'm doing when I'm working with animals.
This is A wonderful example. For also, in the description you gave us, is there not also a sense of energy that
Yeah.
comes from this curiosity? It pulls you forward to the next book or the next thing. Yes. This is the life giving energy of your preference. One way in which it is reflected is through curiosity. Well, I wonder why that is, or I'd like to know that next thing, or that's an interesting answer, but I still feel like there's more to find out here.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, we are delighted to tell you that this topic is vast and very expansive.
Yes.
There are all sorts of conversations that we can and will have about the aspects of energetic communication between you all and other beings of your five senses world. For, from our vantage point, we consider you and animals in many ways quite similar. But we would like to point out in this moment how different this question feels from the question previously. Both are aspects of understanding your current resonance and what you are navigating. But do you see how this feels like an open connection? More is coming to all animals, life giving energy and presence. And as you continue to feel these things as you move forward in your work, you will become more adept at the energetic connections with the animals. Your ability to connect to your own curiosity, your own preference, is a frequency, we could say, a channel, a radio station, we could say, that many animals also participate on. Therefore, when any of you come into contact with a creature, and you are able to remain in an open and curious place, much information about that creature will come through to you in that open allowance of whatever it is that they are. They will inform you of what it is that they are.
So before I'm in that space of really being able to connect with them regularly, which I'm super excited about, um, I'm wondering if you know and would be able to share with me what's been happening with the butterflies around me, because they literally, like, I know they're not attacking me, but it's like they're kissing me all the time. Like they just come over and like just keep like touching me and flying right into me. And I'm like, I don't know what's happening right now, but it's like over and over again.
Okay, this is Katie. That's awesome. Is it like when you're just hanging out outside?
Just either hanging out outside or I'm like going on a walk and they're kind of like flying all around me. And the next thing I know, like somebody's hit here. I literally had one literally like almost kissed me on the lips. Like they're just touching me. And they've never been like that before, where they're not landing on me. They're just like, boop, and like just touching me.
That's amazing.
Amazing.
I
And
love,
it makes
I
me
love, I
giggle
love,
so
I
much.
love, I 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 love.
Did everybody just hear and see that? Or was that just me? Like it was just I love over and over again. Hi, Katie. Should I jump off and have you come back on again? Okay. I'm doing my best to remain open, y'all.
Oh my gosh, what in the world? Can you see me?
Yes.
Okay, can you hear me?
Did you hear what happened when you got disconnected?
It
You
just
literally said, I love, I love, I love, I love. And it was that over and over and over again. It was so funny. It was so
that
funny.
was the weirdest ever. It was like disconnect. Like, and I could still see you, so I knew the call was still happening.
Right.
But like I had my mic plugged in, that all shut off, but the power's not out. Everything's still on, and the Wi-Fi is still on because all this other stuff was still working and I could still see you, but I was
Funny.
taken off the call, like very evidently. That was wild. Okay. Love was too big for the Wi-Fi, says Inez. I agree. I mean, it's happened many times recently where there's sending a big energy shared and it totally breaks it all. Okay. Well, that was awesome. And I liked hearing about butterflies. So let me bring them back through. Let's see what
Now
happens.
I'm really curious.
I know, right? It's the butterfly, the matrix, or I don't know. Okay. Dear ones, we want you all to know how much we are laughing right now at everything that just transpired in your reality. There's much, and we are happy to describe it, but we believe it will be far more delightful for you all to come to an understanding of what it is that just manifested perfectly. So we will continue on with this question as best we can answer it from our perspective and understand, dear one, that this is forever and always your experience and therefore your perspective that you are developing on how this is happening and why will always be of the utmost importance. From our perspective, butterflies are very energetically connected creatures. Though they seem practically fragile in your environment and at times even ethereal, they are, from an energetic perspective, very connected. They have an existence beyond what is often perceived by your five senses. Today, you understand butterflies as being a good example of metamorphosis, and change. And this is true. And also what you view to be as the short lifespan of a butterfly, that is the length of time that you can see them on your five senses, is not the end of their metamorphosis. It is an in-between step. You view them as dying and passing on, and that being the end of the story. We view it as a very interesting continuation, perhaps, of their metamorphosis that leads to the next step, which is a little bit beyond your sight. They, in a way, release the shell of the butterfly form that you see on the wavelengths of sight and move into a more free-flowing structure that exists on what you would say are vaster energetic wavelengths, but from our standpoint, it is quite frankly right next door to your wavelengths of visible sight. So, why are they so interested in you? Well, we would say to take into account what you are resonating with when they appear. There are aspects of what you are putting out, of course, that are attracting them. And we would suggest that that attraction has much to do with your earlier question about connection to the animals. Katie again. I got the vision. So they said they were sending over pictures. And it seems to me that There's like an animal highway.
Uh-huh.
Energetically, like there is a place that they're all in touch with some stuff, and and when we reach curiosity, open curiosity with an animal, we are starting to tap into sort of that energetic highway, and the butterflies uh, fly in that energy. I don't know how to say it. That they're like an in between. Like we can see them flitting around, but they're also somehow connected to the next step that they go on. I don't know. The chorus has never given me that description before, but I've also never asked them specifically about butterflies before. So thank you. That was really interesting.
It's very interesting. And it makes sense. So it definitely makes sense what you're saying about the energetic highway, because I think that I have sensed that very thing with my cat that was just jumping up. Like I'm certain he's here and somewhere else, especially at certain given times. So it makes a lot of sense to me that there would be something like that.
Yeah, they're in tune with all those other things, and we're just finding them. So that's really cool. Really
Yeah,
cool.
really
I
cool.
have had a lot of animals show up when the chorus comes through. In different channeling sessions and with different groups, animals show up at the door. They climb up on the desk, like
Right.
they come sit at my feet. So I think the chorus maybe shares that channel, or they hear them on a different wavelength.
Right.
So,
Yeah, that makes sense.
well, thank you very much for your willingness to be experimental. This is great.
Thank you. It was fun. I appreciate it.
Cool. All right. I will close this off, and hopefully it doesn't close me off too, everyone. If it does, thank you for joining. How about now? Did that fix it? Good. Yes. Okay, great. Man, you're keeping us on our toes today. All right. Is there anyone else on the call who would like to have a dynamic interaction with the chorus today? If you feel inspired, I will say. It's not a have to. Inez says yes. Oh, great. Okay, let me bring you on and we'll see what happens. Oh, Inez says wait. Was that a response to that you could hear me? Was that the yes? Not like the come on? Okay. All right. Sorry to give you a heart attack about you didn't want to. Um, okay. Well, then what I will do is bring them through maybe for like a closeout message. And then feel free to type any other questions in the chat. And then we'll kind of just like ooze into the finale here, I guess. Dear ones, you will find in every experiment that you are willing to make in the course of all of your days, and any topic in your life will be richly rewarded. Though there may be times in which you second guess your original desire to experiment, those beliefs are simply coming to consciousness. And though there may be times when you are perhaps disappointed by the outcome of an experiment, it's simply those beliefs coming to consciousness. The willingness and the openness, the love and the trust that is expressed when you are willing to try something new without even knowing how it will work out is very similar to these energies of which we speak, of love and allowance and curiosity and preference, and they will be there for you at every turn. You may start an experiment in one direction and then feel a lightness of being that then calls you in the next. It is very free-flowing. It is very creative in the moment. And the longer and longer you can allow for this type of openness, the more and more you will see the evidence of your genius. We are with you always. we are all with you always, supporting you, expressing our love and appreciation to you, and we are joyful over your progress and awakening and all that you are seeing of us, creation, and of yourselves. We love you infinitely. Thanks, you guys. Thank you, Melinda, for being very brave and trying something new today. That was a lot of fun. And I learned a bunch through that today. So thank you. Melinda says, thank you so much. Katie in the chorus. Inez says, thank you. Inez, thank you. Thank you all who were energetically present today. And we will post when the next live event is. And we'll talk to you guys then. Thank you. Bye.